Welcome to the garden. I'm actually planting out a whole bunch of vegetables. We've already got some new shoots, so I know that the ground is just about ready. I got a total of 11 seed packets for $1, which is crazy. That's 9 cents a pack. So I got 2 spinach, because they don't give you a lot of seeds in here. I also got beets, some shell peas. I got 2 different types of lettuce, some basil for later in the summer. That's really a warm temperature plant, so we don't want to sow these out quite yet, unless they're inside. And then I just got some flowers. I've always wanted to grow poppy, baby's breath, forget-me-not, and primrose, just for fun. So all of these were $1 total, which is a huge savings. Now these are old seed, so you might want to soak them, especially things like your peas. You want to soak these in water because they're really dry. But most seeds will actually last 5 or 6 years or even more. So I've planted out all the cold hardy vegetables. So that's spinach, beets, peas, lettuces, some of my old seed stocks I've planted out too. That's broccoli, dill, carrots I've planted. I'm going to do some kale today. I forgot to plant that. And radishes. All these are cold hardy vegetables, so they should be fine this early in the spring. But my favorite is gotta be dill. It's so prolific. Look at all these seeds. It's just amazing how many they produce. So we're going to be planting out a whole bunch of those. I like to just kind of sprinkle them around. Pretty thick. They're really one of my favorite herbs. Right now I'm just going to kind of level out a spot. And we're going to do a no-dig method. This is one of my favorite methods of planting. It's really simple, and we can actually fertilize while we plant. So I'm just going to scatter the seeds pretty thick. Now we're going to add some compost. This is the no-dig method here. This does actually quite a few things. We're going to be burying those seeds just to the right depth, so just a little dusting. This way we're not disturbing the old seedlings. They can shoot right through, no problem. So we're not breaking that soil and burying anything that's already coming up. We're providing them with a little bit of nutrients in the form of this really rich finished compost. And it's also going to retain moisture. This is like a sponge. It just soaks up moisture really well, so it'll keep the seeds moist. And the last thing that this compost does is it absorbs sunlight. It's very dark from its richness, but because of that dark color, it'll absorb sunlight and provide a good amount of warmth for the seeds. Even on cold days, if there's a little bit of sun, they're going to be warm, they're going to be moist, they're going to have plenty of nutrients, and they'll be ready to sprout right away. So just like that, we've sown out a whole huge patch of dill, just without any digging at all. So we're going to do basically the same thing with our radishes and our broccoli. We're just going to be doing it in containers instead of directly in the ground. Dill will grow in containers, but they have to be extremely deep. When I've grown them in pots, even pots that are pretty deep, they just don't do as well. It's really interesting. So I usually like to plant them out directly in the ground. So I'm going to plant some radish seeds. These are incredibly cold hardy, but they've got to stay moist. So you really want to keep an eye on the moisture level on your soil. I'm just going to dot them around, and then we'll do the no-dig method of burying. We'll do about half of these, let's see, sparkler white tip, and then we'll do half of these early scarlet clove. These really aren't my favorite radishes. I want to try French breakfast. So I'm just going to finish off all these scarlet globe seeds. French breakfasts are a little more mild. They're actually probably kind of sweet because they don't have that biting, spicy radish flavor. So I'm actually kind of happy to get rid of some of these seeds. But they should come up really quickly. We're just going to bury them a little bit with that compost. Not too deep, but a little deeper than the dill maybe. And this does that amazing triple whammy of fertilizer, temperature control, and moisture control. So compost is really incredible stuff. That looks good there. So last up we have broccoli. I actually usually start my broccoli indoors, but when I transplant it out it can kind of go floppy. You really want to shore in that stem. So I'm going to try a batch outdoors this year, and I'm going to try and grow maybe only 1 or 2 plants per pot. I did 3 in this one last year, so we're going to try just 1. But I'm going to sow more than 1 seed so that we can pluck them out and plant them elsewhere in the garden. But this gets a really nice amount of sun in this location, so it's a pretty decent spot to start seeds. Just kind of amending a little bit with that compost. And these are all homegrown seed. They're really easy to collect. Once those florets turn into flowers, the bees just love them. So they'll pollinate them really quickly, and then you'll get all sorts of seed. So we're not going to need that many. We're just going to do about a handful. I'm going to do sparingly in the center, because one of these is going to be our final plant. And then all the rest are going to sprinkle along the outside edges. We don't want to go too close to the edge, because once that summer sun hits, it'll dry out first. The edges are the first thing to dry out, so they can really get dry quickly. But we'll just sprinkle all around, and you can just do a little bit of this. Shouldn't mix them up too much, but it'll kind of just lightly cover them, and then we'll do a little extra compost on top. I'll probably start some indoors also, just because I know that that works really well. I've done it before, and they're so easy. I just plant them 1 seed per pot in a medium-sized pot. I don't like to use the small seed cells for broccoli because they grow so fast. But brassicas, like broccoli and kale, super cold hardy vegetables, so I'm going to try some straight in the garden this year. Normally you'd want to really water this in, but we're getting rain later today, so I'm just going to let that sit. I actually planted out some lettuce in these ones. This is what the compost looks like when it's dry. It turns kind of a gray-brown. But it'll soon get resaturated with a little bit of rain. We actually have a surprising amount of the garden already planted out. We've got broccoli and kale in these pots here. I've got peas along here, some along the back, and in this pot here. We have lettuce in these 2 pots, and a few more right down there. Carrots and beets in this pot. There's the rest of our lettuces. Then we have radishes here, and spinach in these 2 here. Then I planted out some dill and parsley over here. So that's just our seedlings. We also have a whole bunch of perennials, like our chives and horseradish. So I hope you guys are out in the garden, giving this a grow. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you next time.